high-profile double murder trial comes to a close today. The jury handing down a verdict just moments ago. Amante Bell and Dyrell Green found guilty of first-degree murder in the 2021 shooting deaths of Cordrea Tyson and Brianna Williams. WECT's Ariana Bertolotti following the trial from the beginning and joins us live at the courthouse. Ariana, that guilty verdict sparked emotions.
Yeah, that's right, Fran. And as the verdict came down, you could see the family of Cordrea Tyson crying, presumably tears of joy or relief that this 5-year nightmare is finally over. Now, this verdict comes down after a 6-week trial earlier today. The jury requested to review the same cell phone data evidence that was viewed yesterday. Now, remember, the prosecution did not have physical evidence connecting the men to the crime, but in the end, the amount of digital evidence was enough for a guilty verdict. Once the verdict came down, both men sat stoically, seemingly emotionless. And afterwards, the defense counsel requested the jury be polled, asking them individually if they understood the charges, to which they each responded yes. Now, as a reminder, both men are facing life in prison without parole. Live outside the New Hanover County Courthouse, Ariana Bertolotti, WECT News.